Hello and welcome to our last ever video on Google Hangouts, and it's a bit of a special one because we've got a special guest. Now, you already know who it is because the title of the video is giving it away a little bit, but I've not seen him do an interview with a West Ham fan website. So I heard him on TalkSport a couple of weeks ago and I thought it was a really good open interview he gave. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to see if I can get in touch with him myself and get him on to talk about his time at West Ham, and I'm pleased to say he's obviously joined me. Matt, thank you for giving up your time. How are you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Yeah, thank you for the invite and looking forward to it.
Well, you might be for now, but wait until summer. Nah, it'll be good. It'll be good. But anyway, let's start from the actual start. You were at Wolverhampton Wanderers when we signed you, but you handed in a transfer request to come to West Ham. Were you that desperate to come to West Ham, and what was it that enticed you so much that you had to hand in a written transfer request?
To be completely honest, it was a massive pull for me to come back and play in the Premier League, where I'd played for the last 3 years at Wolves, and West Ham as a club. I have to say I probably sort of not underestimated, but the size of the club and the backing it's got and the fan base is phenomenal. And when I signed there, you then sort of realise how much of a massive club it actually is. So I think that sums up the amazing the base and the size of the club really for me.
When you come to West Ham, what were your sort of aspirations for your career, not just at West Ham but in future? Because a year ago you'd won the Player of the Year at Wolves, you'd got called up to the England squad, etc. So what were you hoping was on the horizon when you moved to West Ham?
Well, for me, it was to get back in the England squad, to push on up the league. I know, obviously, we done really well the first season to finish 10th. I think that was obviously the aim at the start of the season. But as a promoted club to go into the Premier League, to finish 10th is a massive achievement. So for me, it was to be as high as I possibly can in the Premier League to get back in the England squad. That was the aim.
When you spoke to Alladryce prior to moving, what was it he said to you? Was there anything in particular he said that you thought, you know what, this is the club I want to go to, this is the manager I want to play under? Was there any sort of, I don't know, promises or about the style that we were going to play or where you were going to fit into the plans, etc., that made you want to sign?
Not really. I mean, I didn't really speak to him too much before I signed. Just little bits and pieces, but obviously he knew the way I play. My role in the team effectively would be to create chances for others. I had the most crosses, most successful crosses in the league or in Europe the season before, and my first season at West Ham. So it was then. I remember when I actually signed him, then saying to me, "Oh well, now I'm bringing in someone else that's going to get on the end of all your crosses." So, and then Andy signed on loan. It was like an absolutely incredible combination for me. So
yeah,
that was like the first sort of realization. Okay, this is going to be perfect. My first training session, he literally just kept on not him, I suppose the players, they just kept on giving me the ball out wide, kept on giving it, and every time I had to get it, I then put a cross in, and then there was Andy coming on the end of it. It made my job very easy.
Who did you prefer playing with? Because at Wolves, you had a very good relationship with Stephen Fletcher, and then also at West Ham, you had Andy Carroll. Which striker did you prefer to have in the box?
Well, as you said, I think me and Fletch had a really good understanding. I think he sort of knew. I think he just knew where the position that I was on the pitch to put the cross in, knew where the ball was going. I think that's just from practice and years of doing it, I suppose. Going through when he won goal of the golden boot really in the season. You go through the goals and everyone was watching, and I'm sitting there going, "Yeah, that was me. That was me." And he's looking over, going, "Oh, cheers." But with Andy, the biggest compliment I can give him is he can make a very average cross into an incredible one. He liked it to just be floated up and hung up, and then he could just come on and, like everyone said, he was like a battering ram and just come on and take everyone out with it, and then had the timing just the power into the header. And I mean, he was formidable striker. I think he's very underrated. I think, and he was a pleasure to be able to just dink the ball up or put any sort of cross into the box, and he would get on the end of it. He would also tell you if you didn't do it right as well. So he had that in him as well, which was great because it made it much better for me and made me improve in that situation.
Yeah, I'm going off tangent with my question, but I like this because one thing watching Andy Carroll from the fans, you can see him consistently say to the wide players, he keeps doing that. You can see he's saying, "Get it up in the air so I can go, shoulder to shoulder with my defender," and stuff. Did it ever frustrate you as a winger when someone else crossed the ball for him and they did it wrong? Did you ever think that's not how Andy Carroll likes it? Or
well, I think you could see he would tell him because you could see him going like, "Hang it up," but the thing with that is you needed someone else to make the other run because otherwise defenders would know what was going to happen and he would then get pinned in, blocked in. If he had a free run and you hung it up, there was no one that was ever going to get near him. So you had to have, like Kev did it brilliantly. He always used to get across the front or make that run. And you see a lot of times when the ball got crossed in, Andy would then head it down and Kev or whoever would run onto it and have a shot. That was the impact that Andy had.
Brilliant. Right, back to my question. Late August, just 24 hours before you made your debut, you signed for West Ham. But the price tag was a deal up to 10.75 million, a club record fee at the time. Does that put more pressure on you as a footballer when you know how big the price tag is and the fact that you are the record signing?
I don't think anyone would. I think people that say no, it's no pressure. I think to a lesser extent, I think they're definitely lying. It does make everyone's looking at you to do something. Everyone's putting more pressure on you. They're all going, "Oh, you're the record signing. You need to be doing this. You need to be doing that." It does put a lot of pressure on you. You try not to. You didn't make the fee. It's not your fault, but you've got to take that on board. You've got to step up and try and do your best. And I did that. I gave it absolutely everything. And to be fair, the following year when I signed Andy, I was buzzing because the price tag had then cleared.
When you said everyone there is expecting big things for you to record sign, who are you referring to? The manager, the coach, the players, the fans, or do you mean literally everyone?
Literally everyone. I think fans especially. They see the club spend a record amount of money on a player. They expect, oh, brilliant, right? What we getting, that's the sort of thing. Obviously players, you expect it, like, don't get wrong, for me, I expect it from myself anyway. So I've got to go and then prove myself again and again. And players, you go into any training session, you've got to prove yourself to anyone. It doesn't matter who you are, you go in there, you're always on show. So that's never an issue. But I think it's more for the fans. You need to go and earn your respect, I think.
Your fourth appearance for West Ham away to QPR, you got your first goal for the Hammers. Do you remember much about it? What the feeling was like, etc.?
I mean, to score your first goal for your club, especially with everything that's gone on, the transfer is always amazing to get that one sort of out of the way. I think it was a great header, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, went into the far corner.
Does it just feel like some of the pressure's off a little bit when you get that first one?
Yeah, as I said, you want to get off the mark as quickly as possible with with everything that's sort of gone on. But scoring goals is what it's all about. Obviously, I was providing the assists as well, but you always need to chip in with goals, and that's something that I always wanted to try and do.
I had a little wait till your first home game to score your first goal at Upton Park, but it came in a 3-1 win against Chelsea. I mean, if you could write a script when you score your first goal at home in front of West Ham fans, that might have been the script you write.
Well, exactly. I think there's no the atmosphere at Upton Park is what is up there with one of the best. I definitely say, especially when everything's going well, and obviously that to turn score and to be against your London rivals is fantastic, absolutely fantastic.
Well, that's first season. You've already sort of alluded to you thought it was a successful one for the club, etc. But from a fan's frustration, this is a fan's frustration, maybe a personal opinion to an extent. you were played on the left wing a lot, and a lot of fans used to get a bit frustrated because then you were naturally right-footed, and we didn't understand why you were on the left, going down the left and crossing with your weak foot when you could be on the right, putting them in with your right foot. Was that a frustration you shared, or did you think the left wing position was your stronger one?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, my whole career I played on the left, so I preferred playing on the left. I think I understand. I get what everyone's saying, but for me, the big thing for me playing on the left was I had the option to cut inside and shoot or cross, or I could go down the line and cross with my left. And my left foot improved dramatically over the last however many years before I got to West Ham. So I felt I could go either way, and it made the fullback not know where I was going. Whereas when you're on the opposite side, although you're potentially using your strongest foot to get the crosses in, everyone knew you were going to be going down the line. So it would be more difficult to get that cross in, if you can sort of understand what I was saying.
Yeah, no. I suppose we don't think of it as football fans, do we? We're not professional footballers. We're just.
No, I understand. Yeah, well, of course.
Yeah, it's just one of those frustrations that a lot of people had when you'd be going down the left, etc. And we think, well, why is he not on the right? Because he's stronger at crossing with his right foot, so let's get him on the right, etc. So I just wanted to get your opinion. It's quite interesting that you consider, yourself as a natural left winger, and that is the right thing to do. One of the darker days, perhaps, at West Ham for you, or games, was a 5-0 defeat away to Nottingham Forest in the FA Cup, something that Alladryce got hugely hit over the head with by the fan base. Yourself, and there's a couple of other senior players in there, but it was predominantly made up of youngsters. What was that like as an experienced player in what was a humiliating defeat for the club at the time?
Humiliating. I think you've hit the nail on the head. It was demoralising, to go out and, to lose in that, scoreline. I know away from home with doesn't matter who's playing really, to lose that scoreline is demoralising. It's, that shouldn't be the case for a club like West Ham. So it was not very nice at all to be involved in it, to be honest.
Was it fair on the players, the younger players, to be sort of thrown in the deep end, if you like?
It's one of them that as a young player coming in, they're the sort of games that you're waiting for to come around, the cup games. That's where you can try and get in the first team, try and get minutes under your belt. But to be involved in that is not very nice at all for either party, I don't think.
One player I want to pick your brains about, he's come on to the scene recently in England again, is Ravel Morrison. You're smiling. You must have known this name was a way to come up, but you spent quite a bit of time at him. And it's a sort of an educated guess mystery as a West Ham fan as to why his time at West Ham didn't quite work out as we all hoped, etc. The boy with all the talent, but perhaps not the application. And I just wanted to pick your brain on him a little bit because, there was that story that on Christmas Day, your time with your family, then you were going to travel up north for an away game, and Ravel went, well, AWOL. You were all waiting on the bus for him, and his mobile phone was turned off.
Yeah. I mean, what a talent. I think you can see from when he played. I mean, the Spurs game especially, you just see, he's got all the talent in the world. I don't think that's ever been in question. It's, maybe his attitude is, he's just making sure that when he's on song, he's incredible talent. He just needs to make sure that when he has them days or bits that he's just not quite with it, he needs to just make sure that he keeps trying to do the right thing and keeps himself in a positive fashion. And what you're alluding to there is, it was, as players, you want the team to do well, and he was a big part of that at that time. And to then just go AWOL was obviously not really acceptable, I suppose.
How difficult is it, because you were, one of the more experienced first team players at the time, and then obviously Kevin Nolan in an interview recently said him and Mark Noble were sort of insisting that they were going to make a player of Ravel Morrison, put their arm around him, and obviously it didn't work out. So as an experienced footballer who's sort of seen as a model professional from the outside world with no sort of controversy throughout your career. What's your feelings towards someone with all the ability who is essentially chucking it away to an extent?
Well, like for me, I want to be able to look back on my career and go, I've given it absolutely everything. You know, I've worked, I've trained, I've put in all of the effort, I've, you know, dedicated my life to it, and I can look back at the moment, I can look back and say I've given it everything. I couldn't change a thing of what I could do to make anything improved. Whereas I can imagine he's going to be looking back with a lot of regret. Maybe he won't, but he's got all of the talent in the world, and he should be playing in the Premier League. He should be playing at, in the top league for his last 5-10 years. Like, he should have been. So hopefully he's, improved his mentality, and, his talent's all there to see. So you're hoping that now he's back at Sheffield United, he's really going to be able to settle down and show everyone what he can do.
I'm not going to ask you to name anyone if that's the case, don't worry, but did anyone in the first team squad turn their back on Ravel eventually? Say, right, let's say you've had enough chances, you're damaging the team spirit now.
I would say no, really. To a degree, you're all just trying to help him, because he was a young kid still. You really want to. You feel like you want to keep persisting to help him, but sometimes it's, it is banging your head against a brick wall, and it's not like you give up, but you're just sort of like, okay, well, just got to let him figure it out on his own. It's not turning your back on him. It's, you've given him every opportunity to try and to get him on side, and get him to play in that team. It's just sometimes it's out of your control.
And towards the end of your second season, there was a big incident with Sam Alladryce, and you beat Hull 2-1. And the crowd booed. Sam Alladryce turned to the crowd and cupped his ear. What was that like as a player? Of, you're part of the squad, you're a big part of the squad, and your manager is essentially, the style of play is getting booed, and your manager's sort of cupping his hand and almost going to war with the fans to an extent. What was it like as a footballer in the squad at that time?
I mean, football is results based, I suppose, and that you live and die by that as a manager. And to win the game and to be booed from your fans is obviously not quite what you're wanting to hear as a manager. At the same breath, the West Ham fans like the style of football that they like, which everyone likes. So they're just showing their frustration that they particularly didn't like the way that the team was playing, which is understandable. But at the same time, he won the game, so it's a difficult situation to be in as players. I feel like that wasn't aimed at the players, so that's, you can just carry on. You won the game. Yes, probably wasn't the best performance, but won the game, move on to the next one, and that you've got your 3 points, and we go again.
Did you agree with the fans? On a personal note, as Matt Jarvis, the way you like to play football, etc., did you think, what, fans have got a point here, this football's not great? Or were you on the manager side, whereas you were thinking, what, the fans are wrong, you can't expect Barcelona style football all the time?
I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't think you can expect the Barcelona approach and play that wouldn't have worked for us as a team. But obviously, as a player, you want to be playing in a nice passing team, creating loads of chances, and especially for me as a wide man, getting on the ball, taking people on, put crosses in. Of course, you want to be playing in that. Is that as easy as it sounds? No, especially in the Premier League, it's the hardest league in the world. So to do that week in, week out is very difficult.
In the summer of 2014, something more fun happened. You leaked the home shirt, eating a bowl of cereal. Now, I'm not saying that's one of your highlights of your life.
I still get messages from that. I still get messages about that.
If I was to say to someone, right, give me 5 things Matt Jarvis did at West Ham, that would be in their 5. That would, your goal at White Hart Lane would be in there. Your goal against Chelsea would be in there. But I do think eating the bowl of cereal would being most people's talk about. Was that a marketing ploy by the club, or did you just do it?
Yeah. No, I didn't do it. No, I got a message from the club to say, look, can you put your shirt on, like pretend like you're having breakfast, so that because it was getting leaked in the morning, so everyone's having breakfast, doing that. And I don't know whether I was the only one that done it in the squad. I'm just too nice, I suppose. I should have just been like, no chance, like the rest of them probably did. But
Ravel turned his off.
I did it, and then I've been hammered on that ever since.
Nice pun there. I don't think it was intentional, but good hammered pun there.
No.
But do you regret it, or do you look back as a little bit of fun, and that's what it's all about at the end of the day?
It's a little bit of fun. I don't care. It is a bit of banter. It's fine. I mean, I wouldn't do it again, but what can you do?
Do you said there that you were too nice? Do you think that's something? This is my own personal opinion here. Do you think that's restricted you during a game of football somewhat? Because I often felt that teammates would maybe overhit a pass to you that they really shouldn't have done. It would go out for goal kicks or throw-ins. And do you know how Andy Carroll did that? You have this thing of going like this to all your teammates. If the ball was overhit, you turn around and you. And I always thought you were almost too nice when actually you should have been turning around to your teammates saying, "Oh, you should have been. I should have received that."
Yeah, to a degree, I probably am. But at the same time, that's me. I don't feel like, I don't get wrong. If someone's not doing a job or doing anything, I will tell them. But them actually playing the ball is fine. Like I was saying, like I appreciate that they were trying to pass me the ball. Yes, they should have actually got me the ball, but at the same time, if they weren't passing me the ball at all, then I wouldn't get in the game, and that's the biggest thing that's that I found more difficult. That when no one gives you the ball, you're not in the game, and then everyone goes, "Well, he was quiet, he didn't do anything." Well, I was trying to run and get in the game and do everything, but when you don't get the ball, it's the hardest part. So I was trying to encourage more positive to actually keep trying to pass me the ball rather than just been hammering people. But maybe you're right. I should have been a bit more aggressive, but that's not in my nature, I suppose. I don't feel like you have to be a nasty person to get what you want.
Another second season at West Ham, another decent season as well. But your third season, 2014-15, this is where the injury started to creep in a little bit. You only made 13 appearances that season for West Ham. What was it like having to sit out for more than half the season?
I don't know if that was all down to injury, to be fair.
Some of it was injury, some of it was on the bench, but...
Yeah, exactly. I don't think I missed too many games with injuries, to be fair. That was the start of that season was where I sort of floated in and out of the team, which was extremely frustrating, difficult. First time I've sort of experienced that, of not playing every week. So it's something you learn from, I think.
Were you worried? Because that season we changed to sort of the diamond in midfield and two up top, didn't we? So we went from the target man, because Andy Carroll was injured, so you lost your target man, and then we had Sacco and Valencia. We moved Stuart Downing, who was the right winger, we moved Stuart Downing into the middle. You sort of didn't have a position in the first team anymore.
Yeah, that's what happened. I think that's what I mean. It's frustrating. It's the way the shape changed the team, which ultimately left me as like if the team was losing, needed to score a goal, then I would come on. If the team was winning or drawing, then there was no need to change the shape. And then that's what Sam was, the way he was if the team won or had a good result, then that would be the same for the following week. So it's hard to then get back in the team.
Yeah, I mean,
difficult.
When you looked at that 4-4-2, the diamond, did you think, "Oh, I could play there, or I could play there," or were you thinking, "I'm actually just in trouble here"?
Yeah, I was thinking more, I'm in trouble here, because I think, with Stewie going in the diamond, I think they thought he was naturally better suited to do that, and then they didn't. I didn't even get tried in that position, so it was literally just being like, okay, well, at the moment the shape's this, I'm not getting in, I've got to force my way in somehow, and when I get the chance I've got to give it everything. But it's difficult when the shape's dominated by your place is dominated by the position of the formation of the squad.
Before I ask you about the transfer window, that season we were fourth. Going into Christmas, we were sort of in contention with the Champions League, winning formula with Downing, Sacco, and Valencia. And then Nolan and Carroll came back from injury, if you like, and Allardyce sort of put them in straight away. Then we all know what happened next. Went on a big losing run, dropped down the table, and Allardyce left. But as a player, do you look at that and see it as almost a manager picking his favourites, which is perhaps a hindrance to the team?
I'm not. I find that's quite a difficult one because Kev and Andy, when they played, were very, very good. Andy and Kev's record was impressive. I mean, Kev's obviously in the Championship when they signed was brilliant, and then in the Premier League was great. So it's hard to then say, oh well, they don't deserve to get back in the team because they've done extremely well for the club, and the way they play suited the way that Sam wanted to play. So it's hard to say was that a detriment to the team, but at the same time, if the team's doing well, he liked to keep the same team. So it's if the team won, then that team should sort of potentially carry on the following week. But when it doesn't work, that's the opportunity to get changing.
In the winter 2015, January 2015, the winter transfer window, you were close to joining QPR, but it fell through. How close were you to joining QPR?
I think it was reasonably close. I think at the last minute, it was on the last day of the window, so it wasn't like it was all planned and everything before that. It was literally last minute, last knockings, and I was reasonably close. Yeah.
How does it work? Do you get a phone call from your agent saying fancy joining QPR? And yeah.
Well, yeah, I was sat watching like everyone else is. I was sat watching Sky Sports News and getting a call from my agent to say, look, QPR want you. This situation, it'll just be low to the end of the season. What do you think? I was sort of looking at the formation, looking at team, wasn't really playing that much, thinking, well, I really want to play some football. I feel like I'm good enough to play. So it was a possibility. So I sort of waited to find out what the crack was really, if anything was going to be done, and it didn't, and that was that.
Yeah, supposedly it didn't go through because West Ham couldn't get Zarate back from QPR. I think you were supposed to be going there. We were going to get Zarate back. What was it like? You must surely get excited, if you like, about the prospect of playing for QPR for the rest of the season, and it gets taken away from you at the last minute. Were you disappointed? Was it hard to motivate yourself after that, or?
No, not at all. Because I wasn't expecting to go in the first place, and then to get the call to say you can go was like, oh right, and then it was off. It was all done really quickly, so I didn't have the sort of chance, I suppose, to be like, right, I'm going to go and play, and then I'm going to come back. So it was all sort of, yep, gone. So I didn't have any. It wasn't for me to be coming back and being like moping around. Not at all. I was straight back in, training well, trying to get back in the team again.
Does it impact you motivationally, if you like, that the club were willing to let you leave, but the next day at training you're there at a club that was willing to let you go a day before? Does that impact you in any way?
For me, it makes me want to prove them wrong even more. I try and be positive about it all, rather than being, they wanted to let me go. It'll be like, right, I'll show them that they should keep me. That way around. That's the way I've always sort of tried to be. I think that's the only way you can be as a player. You need to prove people what they're missing out on and why you should be in the team.
When I listened to the TalkSport thing a couple of weeks ago, the thing that I found really intriguing was how open you were about your emotions to an extent. You said that you'd had days where you'd gone home and sat down and cried for a day, essentially. You were referring, for context, he was referring to your injury situation at Norwich City more than anything. Did you ever have times like that at West Ham? Did you ever have times where you just went home and...
I mean, not so much emotionally like that, but I definitely had days where obviously it wasn't going so well, and I'd planned to go out for a meal with some friends or my wife or something like that, and then cancelled it because I didn't want to be spotted out. I didn't want to be, social media these days, someone just bang, take a photo. Why is he out? The team's just lost, blah, blah, blah. So I did sort of stay in a lot more, I suppose. Maybe not enjoyed myself, but going out for a meal with friends, not drinking, but like going out for a meal, I didn't do because I thought that it wouldn't look right with other people, other fans, and I didn't do that. And maybe that's just because of the way I am. Whereas maybe other people would have been like, well, I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm just going out for a meal, and would still go out and do it. But there was definitely days that I remember I cancelled quite a few things to just stay in.
Alladryce left that summer. What was it like playing for Sam at West Ham?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I did. He was the best way to sort of describe him is he's an old school manager with all of the new technology, statistics. I mean, he was phenomenal with all of that. You were clued up on everything. You knew everything about the opposition. You knew, when we start the season, for instance, he would have like a big meeting about, right, we want to finish 10th, and then on the spreadsheet would have everything, how many goals you need to score, how many goals you need to score, goals conceded, wins, losses, draws, everything to do with all statistics over the last 5 years. Teams finished 10th, that's what you need. And then he'd break the season up into like 8 games. And so if you were like playing Man U, Arsenal, Chelsea, and you didn't win any of them, that was your sort of that section of the season, and you'd want to have this many points. If you got that, brilliant, you'd move on to the next 8, and then it would go like that. So if you had a tough run and you were like, okay, we only think we can get 6 points in them 8 games, fine. You get 7, brilliant. You get 4, okay, we need to make it up this month. We've got these 8 games, this is how many points we need. So in that scenario, he was really good at it, really good. I think it was the first one to sort of come into with all of the GPS, for games, everything, that he was really into it all.
Slav arrived that summer. Were you hoping fresh start for Matt Jarvis at West Ham, or were you sort of looking at the door already?
No, not at all. I was hoping for a fresh start. It was the Europa League qualifying, so obviously because I didn't play much the season before, I got called in early to play in all of the games, the qualifying ones, which was fine. I came in and I thought I played well. We did well in the qualifying, and I featured in, I think, all of the games at the start of the season before I left. And I spoke to Slavan. He was, absolutely great. Like, I couldn't ask for, he was honest with me, everything. And basically at the end of it, it got to the end, and last sort of day again in the transfer window, and I just said to him, look, I didn't really play as much as I wanted last year. I know I featured this year in every game, but I come on for like 25 minutes, half an hour, 25 minutes, 20 minutes. I just said, what's sort of the script for me this year? What are your thoughts? He was like, he didn't want me to leave, didn't want me to go. Obviously I'd been involved, but he couldn't guarantee that I would play. He couldn't say, oh no, you definitely play, you definitely start. So I had to make a choice, and I just didn't want the season before to be like this, so I didn't want to not play. So I just decided that it was probably better to me to go and play some games than to sit and be a tiny bit part player. But I mean, I could have played a lot more, but I just felt at that time I'd had a season where I didn't really play, and I wanted to go and play some games.
Do you regret leaving? You left in just before the season. Well, it kicked off. The season kicked off, but you left in possibly one of our biggest ever seasons, given it was the last season at Upton Park. I mean, as a footballer, I know you enjoy your time at Norwich, but did you not look at what was going on at West Ham, thinking I could have been a part of that, even if it was a bit part? They did so well, scoring goals.
Yeah, I mean, it's so difficult. I'd love to have stayed, but football's, when you're not playing and especially now, I look back and think, well, if I didn't go and I stayed and I didn't play, that's sort of 2 years effectively in my career that I didn't really play. And as a footballer, I know it's different for some people, but for me, I want to play. So if I was there and not playing, I wouldn't have been able to enjoy the season as much as everyone else, I don't think.
I like that. I'm speaking for a lot of people watching this interview right now. I like that attitude, and it's something that, as West Ham fans, we've maybe wished other players, our club, perhaps had as well at times. And who's the best players you played with at West Ham? When you were there, you look back, you think that was a damn good teammate I had there.
Yeah, well, I have to say the whole group, like especially the first I suppose, but them 2-3 seasons where the squad was brilliant. The togetherness was great. I mean, going on pre-season with them, you'll get to spend a lot of time with them, and they were all a fantastic group. They really were. It was a really, really good together group. So all of them were brilliant, and I still speak to a lot of them now. I know on social media it's a lot easier, I suppose, but yeah, they were a real good group. And I have to say, even because I was only there for a short period when Payet and Lanzini, I know Payet obviously controversial, but he was a fantastic player, which everyone will agree with. The other stuff is not for me to discuss. But Lanzini is a fantastic player. I think you could see that from when even just training before he'd even played. You see, actually, he's a very, very good player. So I think they all got really great.
I thought you were going to say Kev. I thought that's who you were going to go for. I was expecting it. I was ready for the Kev.
I have to say with Kev, you know exactly what you're getting with Kev. He was brilliant. He was great. And for me, he was really good, really, really good captain, really good. If there was any ever problems, you could go to him, not personally or anything to do with his team. You go to him and he would sort it out. He'd have arguments with the manager, go crazy, big arguments, and it'd be nothing to do with him. It would be to do with something else. And it's for the team, and that's all you can ask for a captain. He was outstanding at that.
Yeah, you went on loan, then you made your move permanent not long into your loan. When you look back at your time at West Ham, have you got any regrets?
I mean, everything happens for a reason, I suppose. But I would just wish I could have played more games. I think I don't feel like I was able to play as much as I think I could have or should have. Disappointing in the sense that I feel like, especially on the first 2 seasons, I think I said I put on the most crosses and most accurate crosses in Europe, and maybe didn't get as many assists or goals that would have shown, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. You did your job. The guy in the box
should have gone better.
Yeah,
sorry.
You're saying you did your job, but the guy in the box didn't, so it's not your fault. I'm not disagreeing with you. I think it's a fair thing. If your job's put the crosses in, you're putting the crosses in. You've done all you can, isn't it? Yeah, and it's not to you. Right, toughest question for the whole interview, and I told Gonzo's other half of Hammers Chat, and I ran through some of my questions with him, and I read this one out. He said you can't ask him that, so I've got to. Matt, you arrived as the record signing, just under £11 million, a deal worth up to £11 million. Okay, so we probably didn't pay the whole sum in the end, but it was up to worth that. Do you feel you lived up to your price tag?
I feel that if you look in respect to the way that the transfer fees have gone, I feel that statistically wise, I feel that I provided what my role in the team was. It's a difficult question. I don't know. I'm a player. I don't have that say in the price of anything. So it's a difficult one. That's for you as fans to judge, which everyone does. So it's.
Yeah, I think you're a very honest footballer, though, and I think you're trying to say that you did live up to price tag because you're brought in to essentially put crosses in, and you feel that you've done that. Would that be fair?
To a degree. I feel like, don't get me wrong, my role is to put crossing, but also I need to have scored. I should have scored more goals. I think that was something that I always tried to work on, and I worked extremely hard. I don't, as I said before, I don't feel like I could have done anything more. If people would know me and played in that team, would have seen the amount of work I put in the training. So I don't feel like I have any regrets in that side of things. I gave it everything I possibly could.
So
I don't feel like the fans could say to me, "Oh, you didn't try enough." I can hand on heart say I don't think any fan would be able to say that about me.
No, I quite agree with you on that one. Final question: sum up your time at West Ham. Did you enjoy it, etc.? What was the high times? I mean, I forgot to ask you about your goal at White Hart Lane. That must have been a pretty special moment.
But there you go. That was a high.
You've had more than that.
I have to say, is scoring goals. If you're going to do one, that's the one you want to do, isn't it? As playing for West Ham, you want to score against Spurs. You want to score. Maybe you want to score at Upton Park, but to score at White Hart Lane and to win, I don't think you can come better than that.
No, I quite agree. But did you enjoy your time at West Ham then?
Yeah, I honestly, I can say I did. I do feel like it was maybe not unfulfilled, but I suppose just the season before I left, I feel like I just wish I was able to be involved more. I think I know you can blame systems and formations, but I would just like to have been involved a lot more than I was.
Well, Matt, thank you so much for coming on and giving up your time. It's been a very honest interview. I really appreciate that as well. I know the guys watching this has enjoyed it, but if you have enjoyed watching this, make sure you drop a like on the video. Matt, thank you again. Take care. I know you're currently in training, getting back to full fitness with a new club, etc. Good luck with all that. Keep in touch, and hopefully we'll see you at London Stadium soon. Not for a beer. Keep but hopefully things aren't going too bad. You have to stay indoors and not be seen out.
Exactly.
We'll catch you in a bit, but make sure you subscribe to the channel if you drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Leave your comments below what you thought the interview was. That's been Matt Jarvis. I've been Gio. We've been Ham's Chat. We'll catch you in a bit.